Everybody, this is Mario Raunchy, brand strategist, founder and owner of ManuFracture, and I'm here with something different today. We're going to talk about the journey, right? So what exactly is the journey? So I've just noticed that a lot of things in my life, it's weird how things happen, how things happen to you. But what's interesting is like documenting things and looking at them later and then seeing how far you've come from that original goal. I also find it as personal accountability for some reason, because a lot of things get in the way of in my life. So what exactly, what else do I have other than like personal responsibility to keep myself on track onto my goals? So obviously, if you've known by now, if you look at the Facebook page or the YouTube channel or whatever, you can clearly see that this is a new agency. By all means, it's new. There is like I have nothing to hide. It's new. We don't have an office. There's absolutely nothing here that I can show you that's glamorous or beautiful or the typical agency stuff. But technically an agency is two people, and they work together and they work on to create things either in marketing, branding, a digital, whatever it may be. But the internet has given us so much power now. Being able to work with my partner through an online, through the internet, and get projects done through there is really amazing. I wouldn't have thought about it years ago, but now it's possible, and it's incredibly important to take advantage of it. So it's what I've been doing. It's why I don't need an office. It's why I don't need to waste my money yet on all this stuff, because I probably one day will own an office. However, it's not the time yet. Right now it's about running lean, about getting clients, about running deep into executing what our strategy is, our business strategy is, and just putting it on a roll, just moving, taking action every day or every week or whatever, but just keep a consistent path towards a goal, which is to create this agency, called ManuFracture. So a bit of an origin story. So at age 18 or 17, I went to tech school, and in tech school I learned about design, graphic design, and it was an amazing thing. I didn't know I could actually do art or work for art and get money, get paid for that. That idea in itself was amazing to me. It really resonated with me. So I kept at it, and I kept doing graphic design, all day, every day, just really putting in the work to learn a lot about it. I've noticed that, when you find something you love, you put in the work almost every day for it. It's something that you don't stop doing. It's something that you live and you breathe. Obviously you have like work-life balance, but most of your priorities go into, what you love. So yeah, so I kept doing that, and then I went to community college, and community college was okay. I already had learned most of what I've learned from graphic design. As I kept learning, I learned it from the internet. Again, the internet was a huge source. YouTube, all of this stuff was important for me to grow my skills in design, graphic design, right? So, and for a year, I just focused on making, logos. After community college ended, I was like, okay, what's next, right? So after that, I thought of like, okay, so I'm gonna make a portfolio, apply to a bunch of different companies, and see what happens. But as usual, life doesn't hand you what you want. So many times I was rejected from so many interviews, from so many places. It's unbelievable. It's amazing how I had to grow a tough skin in order to actually get through that, because it's kind of depressing that you work towards, a goal, like, maybe just an entry level position, and you're still not qualified for it. It's an entry level for Pete's sake. But I'm getting off track. But anyway, doing that, so I kept doing that, kept applying to interviews, and I did everything, I even like went one time to Virginia. Went to Virginia by train, all the way to Virginia by train. Took me like 3 hours, and then I sat in there, did the whole interview, they said, is transportation going to be an issue? It's like, not a problem, because like when you really love something that much, like it's really not a problem. It doesn't really matter to you. You'll just go and you'll do it, and there's no problem, right? At least for me, I would wake up 6 o'clock every morning to go to Virginia, but it would be a hassle, sure, but at least I'd be learning something. I'd be getting experience, I'd be moving up in this design world, in this design industry, right? And then it just hit me, after a while. It's like, this is not working. I've applied to so many people. It's just not working. They're wasting my time. I really felt like that. They're wasting my time. I want to learn, I want to get better. I'm not entitled, right? I'm not entitled. Obviously they had their reasons. They had their understandings, obviously. I just disagreed with that. I disagreed with that, and that was what it was. But anyway, so after that, I just thought, okay, what am I do? I'm going to do freelance. So freelance is the equivalent of running your own business almost. It's the equivalent of learning how to, manage clients. It's the equivalent of understanding how to do sales. It's the equivalent of making invoices, having a professional onboarding process, all that type of stuff that a business pertains. However, I had just known the design part. I had just known that, there was only design. I was only making things. I was only creating things. And to a point, that was what my freelance career was based on. It was the point about making things. I was making logos for companies. I was making brand identities for companies. But in the end, it was all subjective to the client. For them, it didn't matter, if it looked good or not. This was all subjective, right? So I tried to add some objectivity in my work. But stuff like, saying like, oh, the color blue or the shape is, for your target audience, like stuff like that, using visuals, purely arguing aesthetics, was not working in my favor. I had still people telling me, go do many revisions, come back to me, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. It was terrible, right? But overall, I gained a lot of valuable experience, more valuable experience than I would ever had in an agency. Freelance made me such a more resourceful person than I'd ever thought I was. It made me, a designer slash business man, getting paid for what I'm doing. I was doing what agencies were doing, really. I was going to clients, I was talking to them, I was doing the work that, agencies told me I couldn't do, and I did it, So that's one of the reasons freelance, immediately made a huge difference in my life, and it can make a difference in your life as well. So after freelance, after freelance, I kept doing freelance for a while, but I found out that it was, stagnating, and that, people were asking for less and less, and I was just going down a rabbit hole at this point. Okay, it was a downward spiral. There was no going out of it, because design was increasingly getting commoditized and commoditized and commoditized. So logos now could go to $5. People don't appreciate the craft that I put towards them. They didn't care about the craft. It was all about what's in it for them. What does this do for my business, Mario? What does this matter? It's just a logo. It's just aesthetics. But to the point, I do feel aesthetics matter. But like the underlying reasons over it, something like a logo, is more important at the core of it, right? Aesthetics matter, but functionality and business goals behind it matter even more. So this is when I started to look at things like branding, brand strategy, learning the difference between, what is a logo and what is a brand, and how they're not the same thing, how a brand is a customer's perception of you, or basically real estate in the customer's mind, of your product or service. And stuff dawned on me. It's like, this is something I love and I can make money off of. I enjoyed delving deep inside the understanding of consumer behavior and understanding why people buy what they do, or buy and make the decisions what they do, or how brands communicate to people almost in this kind of, in this really amazing way that, kind of like, it's almost like an alignment between two things, and it's like how they can read your mind almost, which is interesting as well, which I found was really interesting. So many things I thought were interesting about branding. So at the end of the day, at that point, 3 years in after freelancing, after 3 years of freelance experience, I was like, okay, what else can I do next? What is the next step for me? After logos are being commoditized every day, what is the next step for me as a designer, right? So I said to myself, I'm gonna start an agency, okay? But however, this doesn't lead here yet. I started an agency called Pyro Process in the summer, and it tanked completely. It tanked because, again, I wasn't knowledgeable about differentiation, I wasn't knowledgeable about positioning, I wasn't knowledgeable about how to find a white space in the market, to find a need that consumers hadn't thought of or didn't uncover a need. I was just, the whole brand of Pyro Process was very shallow, and it was very me, whereas, it wasn't geared toward customers, and it kind of reflects, our generation of, shallow and shallow people. But yeah, exactly. So it was very shallow. It wasn't solving any problems, and it tanked. It tanked considerably, and it was a huge loss of money. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. But as anything, in business, you have to learn to either quit and get done. It's done. No more business, done, I'm gonna go work 9 to 5. Or you go and you find a different way around. You pivot. You look at the market and you pivot. You find a different opportunity. There's always different opportunities. I learned that the fact that, just because you have a business idea doesn't mean it's gonna stay forever, right? It can be solid, and you keep with it, and you keep with it, and you keep with it, and one day it really works. Then that's great, right? But one day, you might keep with it, and it doesn't work, then it's time to be self-aware of that and then move on, right? So that's where it leads me here to present day, in 2017. Technically, I started this company January, but for the purposes of this video, I'll say right now, and it's been a learning experience. Again, starting from a completely new market of no knowledge of it at all, and just starting from a completely new market and coming in and just trying to make sense of it all. Who are my customers and what are they doing? And how do I find what they need at this moment? I'm still uncovering the needs after even trying to do strategy. I'm still learning about where are, in the reality, in real life, like where are my customers? And so it brought me to create, so after pivoting in this market, I pivoted towards industrial sectors, because I had done work with property management, I'd done work with construction companies, I'd done work with many industrial sectors beforehand. So I started moving into manufacturing and construction and all this industrial stuff, and and it was a very eye-opening experience to see that many manufacturers, many construction didn't take branding as seriously as I thought. A lot of things are esoteric in construction and in in manufacturing. There's not much publicity about these things, and these companies get unnoticed. These companies don't, get noticed very often, and I think they should be, because they provide mostly almost everything that you do or use in this world. Pills, pharmaceuticals, rubber, plastic, all that stuff. That thing is important. We take that for granted. And I feel like these people should have more of a market share, more of brand awareness in the market. So it's why ManuFracture was created. The other reason ManuFracture was created was for the reason that the principle of ManuFracture is behind its name, Manu and Fracture, which is first because we target the industrial sectors, and second is the fact that I value now more than ever in my life is to constantly break things in order to create new opportunities. What do I mean by that? So if I have a current thought pattern, I'm always questioning, what is it, that is wrong about it? What is it that, can change about it? Because I don't believe, like a business, mindsets should stay the same. There's a theory, there's a thing in neuroscience called neuroplasticity, and it's called the brain can change anytime and any place. Just by changing your habits, just by changing what you do every day. You're not set to a certain ideal, you're not set to a certain person, or a certain self. You can always change, right? So for example, right now, like this type of videos, I would never do, because, I'm an introvert. I don't do well in huge crowds. However, I've learned that, that's not the case. I can enjoy myself in huge crowds. I can enjoy myself talking to a lot of people. I can do that, and I can enjoy talking to a camera like this. Because just by, trying to push that limit, trying to break it, to the point that it is kind of painful, but, to break it, to actually break through it, and to actually create a new opportunity, to create a new mindset for myself, and constantly reinventing myself, to become the best version of what I can be. And this leads me to now, present day, and we're here. This is ManuFracture in this dingy, old little apartment. But through the power of the internet, we get things done, we get things moving. And that's the origin story for today. And so for the record now, all these things is going to be a series called Ambitions of an Agency, and it's going to tell the story of and document, the story of coming from here to there, just constantly. If I pick up any insights on the field, if I pick up any insights on the job, or with a client or anything, I'm gonna share it with you guys, because I want to give some thought process, because a lot of agencies can seem unreachable goals, and I don't want an agency to be an unreachable goal. I feel like anybody can start an agency, a design agency, a digital agency, whatever it is, they can do it. Whatever means possible, even if it's a small non-HD camera in a small apartment, whatever it may be, but they can start. They can just start, and the starting is the most important part in their life. This start is very important for you, and it's very important for me. So with that, I will say goodbye, and I'll see you next time.